Hi, he is on the West Coast. Welcome back to Legacy Studios with Jimmy Joe Savage. It is Rob Pratte. We're talking about Super Agent, my friend, longtime attorney. He is none other than Ralph Sindrich on the AT&T Sports Line. In case you haven't heard, Garrett Cole lost. Dexter Fowley, big day today with the bat for the Cardinals. He came over, left the world champion Cubs in the offseason for a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. 2-1 the final. The Cardinals sweep the Pirates. They lose again today, 2-1. Now, to the reason Mr. Sindrich is joining us tonight, we wanted to give him an opportunity. He was one of the many that I didn't get to on the radio during my Monday night tribute to Dan Rooney, so we wanted to give him time. All right, Mr. Sindrich, let's go back. 1969, a young man. He takes over the reins from the Chief, Chuck Noll, Joe Green, and they're on their way to 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Your thoughts about the late Dan Rooney of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You know, really, it's overused, but he's one of the great ones. How else do you describe him? He led the league during its toughest times in baseball, went through hockey, through the union process, and trying to assist players along with protecting his business interests. But the football world lost a good friend, and particularly the players, when Dan Rooney died.
Talk about the Rooney Rule and why that's so significant to the NFL.
Well, you know, he was a leader in establishing the rule that required teams to interview minority candidates, and he followed his own vision there with the others by doing it himself and having the others see what was going on with Bill Nunn and with Joe Green. With, you know, you just go on and you can see Joe Green, of course, the reason why. But it was always just the way that I think his Irish background and the way he grew up and the way he was taught by the chief.
You know, one of the things that he talked about in his legacy as far as growing up on his beloved North Side, and you being from Avella and went to University of Pittsburgh, you know the city of neighborhoods better than anyone else. He said it wasn't your skin color or the church you went to. It was about living up to your word and pulling your own weight and looking out for your friends. That's how he lived his life, right?
No doubt. You know, there's a rule that the Rooney family lived by that I saw, and I think you found out, or many did, when in his passing, when they came in and told about the things that Dan Rooney and before that the chief did, and it was always doing the right thing. It was the rule of the Rooney family, doing the best you can and doing the right thing, and it was a basis of certainly my relationship with the Steelers. I had no hesitation in letting them know if anyone was out there looking up dirt or trying to do damage to them, that, hey, look, you're talking with this. If this were a friend, I say, if you're talking with me, I want you to know I'm going to pass it on, so don't talk to me. If it was someone that I didn't know in the media, I would just pass it on to the Steelers and say, watch out for this. Here's what someone's trying to do. And you always have that going on. And I think that it was relationship, even though I went one-on-one with the Steelers, cost them 2 third-round draft choices, and had some monster contracts, landmark-setting contracts. It was still one to where they were able to, I was still treated, I guess, just like a Pittsburgher, like a friend, like someone from Oakland, from the North Side. It was always that way. And if I have any regrets, it's, I have it even in the letter that I posted. He said, come down and see us more often, or come down and see us sometime. And I regret not doing that. And I never over-abused that privilege with the Steelers, but I always appreciated the courtesy and how I was treated by them.
You know, when Dan Marino was playing quarterback for the University of Pittsburgh, and you being a Pitt alum, listen, I love the blue and gold. I make no bones about it. And I always felt privileged and honored to know that the kid from Oakland and Central Catholic was calling signals. He slipped through the fingers of the Steelers, ended up in that 83 draft with Miami. And some say that Mr. Rooney never got over that happening, and that's one of the reasons why he made sure when a quarterback of what he believed equal talent, Ben Roethlisberger, was there, that the Steelers got them. He really took that hard, Dan Marino, not playing for them, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. There was a lot going on, though, with Dan at that time, as there is with a lot of players, where you have rumors circulating here and there about this and that, and so it was one of the things that maybe had was responsible for Dan dropping to where he did drop with Miami, and of course, Don Shula saw everything about him that was positive, and I've always heard that, and also that's the quarterback and Dan Rooney coming out. If I ever wanted to get his attention, all that I had to do was to mention the Catholic school all-star team and where he was, and he was an exceptional player, but he was second behind Johnny Unitas and was always ticked about that. And the last time that happened was walking to the dais at the Dapper Dan banquet, and we were in front of everyone. Of course, he was bent over and walking slowly at that time, and so all the stars and the honorees were waiting behind us. But as we walked, just to get a little chatter going with him, I started talking about that, and boy, he picked up right away, and his pace picked up too. But he looked at me with that eye. He knew what I was doing, but he couldn't resist that temptation to respond.
All right, let's talk now about Mr. Rooney, the man. He drove to work every day up until the last couple of years of his life. He walked to every home game from his house in the north side for the Steelers, and he piloted his small plane, and he loved to just mingle with people, and he was very accessible. Another reason why you have to put him above so many others that are in positions such as his, because he was a man of the people, Ralph.
He was, and he was a moral leader. You don't have many of those in the sport today. He was a sportsman. It's part of big business and looking to do what he had to do, but he was always on the far side of that extreme right of the NFL, always trying to assist players and willing to make a deal and giving up something to do it. He and Tagliabue, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, were really responsible for the setup of the NFL the way it is right now.
In closing, with Ralph Sindrich, super agent, joining us from the West Coast. He is on the AT&T Sports Line here at Legacy Studios. Speaking of Mr. Tagliabue, you think of the man before him, Pete Rozelle, and obviously the man there now, Roger Goodell, that Mr. Rooney actually mentored and went to his room to tell him that he had gotten the job. You have to think that Mr. Rooney helped those three men do a very tough job.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. He was the counsel. He was the man that they all relied upon. They trusted him. They trusted his intelligence, his wisdom, his ability to be able to see everything that needed to be done to get a deal in place for the benefit of the players, the league, the owners, but most importantly, the cities. And he never lost sight of that with the city of Pittsburgh. You never heard the garbage from him that you heard from the other ones, and many times it was very much justified and warranted.
You have to share maybe one or two quick stories about a personal moment with Mr. Dan Rooney, Ralph, before we say goodnight.
Wow, I guess so many. The personal one that I think that stood out is that moment at the Dapper Dan banquet, and when walking with him and talking about his being a Catholic school all-star, and just the glimmer in his eye and the look and the smile, and he kind of knew what I was doing, but he also couldn't resist it because of that competitiveness and the fact that, saying this to him, he was a pretty shifty quarterback, and he was walking in that labored walk that he had at the end of his life. So for me, when I think of him, I think of that smile, him looking up and giving him that smile, and it was just for me a very warm, touching moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Sindrich. Ralph, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rob.